Shit's on.
It's on. Let's do it.
Here we go. It's time for another episode of It's This Meets That. I'm Russ.
And I'm Jared. Hey, about 10 minutes gone. I'm still in the intro this time because I loved it.
You loved it? Oh my God.
Yep. Highly watchable. Little description from IMDb here. A crime thriller that centers on a man whose memory has been lost due to a bank heist gone wrong. The character will need to piece together the missing 10 minutes from his memory in order to determine who sabotaged him. Now, I like the description because it really centers on that missing 10 minutes, which really is not a factor in the movie at all.
I was just going to say that. Like, I read that and I was like, wow, they're really focused on this whole lost memory thing. Like, it's really that important. It really wasn't. You just got hit in the back of the head and that was it. Like,
I think there was one point in the movie where he said something like, if only I could piece together those missing 10 minutes. Love the tagline, keep your enemies close.
Pretty solid, pretty cliche, pretty, you know.
I like that you said cliche because the movie runs on cliches in the best possible way.
Yes, if this was a car, if this movie was a car, it would run on cliche, unleaded cliche.
Yep.
It was bad.
So spoilers ahead, as always.
From this point on,
yeah.
Spoilers galore. We're here to watch these movies, so you don't have to, dear listener, but you've been warned.
Yeah, this was a treat. Brian A. Miller is the director, who, if you look into, I was like, oh, Brian A. Miller, that doesn't sound super familiar to me. He only directs Bruce Willis movies.
Really?
Yeah. Just like the producers that we saw there, Emmett and Thurla,
yep.
This is their 15th Bruce Willis movie, I think, or something like that, or they're working on their 16th. They only do Bruce Willis movies.
Yeah, look at this guy. He's done 9 movies. Vice, The Prince, Reprisal, they're all Bruce Willis movies.
Yep. And it shows. I think, the director is definitely, I think, getting what he wants out of Bruce Willis.
Yeah. I wonder if they're, related or something. Maybe it's, his nephew or something, because it's kind of weird. I mean, I guess he found his muse in a cardboard cutout version of Bruce Willis, which may have been a better actor to cast in the role.
In this particular one, yeah. And so we've talked about Bruce Willis a bunch, but also starring the incomparable Michael Chiklis.
Yeah.
Who I know mostly from, bad TV roles. And so, for me, this might be the crowning achievement of Michael Chiklis' career.
He was in that legit cop show, though, right?
He was.
Right? The Shield. That's what it was. That was a pretty legit show. I mean, it went 6 seasons and people liked it. I think it was.
He's a very legit TV actor.
Yeah. He also was the Thing in Fantastic Four, the first one.
Yeah, not a movie.
No, it shouldn't have been. But we're getting sidetracked here.
Yeah. So Michael Chiklis. This is his crowning achievement. And then Meadow Williams, who rumor has it just paid to be in the movie.
And she plays a pretty big part in the movie, but we'll get to that later. There's one other actor that I want to call out who plays kind of a big part in the movie, but his name is Texas Battle. That's a fucking pretty amazing name.
Not only is it an incredible name, but looking into the roles that he's had, I am unknowingly a huge fan of this guy. Not only in Final Destination 3, he's in U-Turn 2, which is a great, terrible horror movie.
Yep.
He's in the Dragon Ball live-action movie from a couple years ago.
He's got a legit rap sheet there. And I mean, that name, again, that name alone is just better than everything this movie is.
Yeah, and he is probably the 5th or 6th best actor in this movie. So,
and that's saying a lot. Even the 2 guys who are supposed to be the leads. Let's talk about who the screenwriters were. So we got Kelvin. I thought that said Kevin. Kelvin Mao.
Yep.
Not a writer, we've determined, according to
his first movie that he's written.
Yep. It shows. And hey, everyone, you got to get the first one done and get it on your belt. So that's fine. And Jeff Jingle.
Which is another great name.
Great name. Also not a writer. He's a special effects guy. So kind of sets you up for where we're going to be in terms of quality of writing.
Yeah, which I looked into it right before I started watching this, and I was like, oh, I'm glad that I did, because once we got into it, I was like, is this a joke? And then I was like, oh, it is. Okay.
Yep.
It all made sense.
Were we able to pull up? We couldn't. I don't think we could find budget numbers. I assume it's probably just over $1 million. $1 million going all to Bruce Willis, and then the leftover like $50 they made the movie.
Well, undisclosed, and then, rumor has it. I'm saying there's a lot of rumor has it. We'll get into it with the fast facts, but rumor has it that that it had a sizable budget, but the producers insisted on taking $1 million salaries, and so like the movie itself was actually made with a shoestring, like nothing.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. And we do have a number worldwide gross of $323,989.
That's not that bad. Like compare it to The Fanatic.
Like this movie should have realistically just cost $10,000 to make, and then this would be like, wow, that's great. That's a good return there. But
yeah, if it wasn't for Bruce Willis's fee, I'm sure this would have been wildly profitable.
Yes. But then you think, like, if Bruce Willis isn't in it, you're not pulling in those, sorry, pun happening here, but those diehard Bruce Willis fans.
Great point.
And
when I was looking into the earnings on this movie too, so that's just the worldwide gross there is just for box office. It's actually done really well on video sales. So like there's another 700,000 or so in video sales. So like
really.
Yeah, looking at probably bringing in like about $1 million for this movie.
All right. I mean, that's maybe they broke even with it.
No, definitely not. You only have to pay Bruce Willis for a couple hours, which it seems like they did. I feel like you're still going to be. This is probably a multi-million-dollar movie.
Yeah, it's got straight to video, straight to DVD, straight to the bin box, discount box at Walmart, written kind of all over it. And they might as well just call it that, discount heist, right?
Yeah, I mean, we watch it on Amazon Prime. Shout out to Jeff Bezos. Yeah, and if you can watch it on Amazon Prime for free, great, do that. Definitely don't spend money on this movie if you don't have to.
Or don't waste the 89 minutes and go outside.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably better advice.
Right.
Go out, hug your children.
Yep. Hug your children. Go outside with a mask on and go for a walk for an hour and a half.
Yep.
And it's probably a better spending of your time.
Yes.
We're not here to give this movie, any of these movies that we talk about, any reason to watch them. But yeah.
And we're not here to tell you to exercise either. Do that if you want to.
It's up to you. Exercise at your own risk. Make sure you're drinking lots of water, staying hydrated, and if it's too hot, just take a break.
Yep.
All right. What's your Hollywood pitch in this guy?
Yeah. So it took me a while to think about, and I think I finally thought of a good analogy here.
Yep.
We've got Bruce Willis, so obviously we're going to go Die Hard, but the worst Die Hard, which is A Good Day to Die Hard.
Yes.
And, just awful movie all around, but meets Dog Day Afternoon for a number of reasons. One, similarly botched heists or something that's really not worth that much. Like, I don't know if you remember the bank that Al Pacino chooses to rob has, like, no money in the safe. There's one point where they're like, oh, it's like $30 million in jewels. And I'm like, that's so little money. Like, for the amount of attention this heist is getting, for the amount of, like, cops that died in this, like, it's not that much money.
But they did reference how easy of a job it was supposed to be. So, like, this is, like, and they mentioned that multiple times, which we'll get into the writing, but many times they're like, this is supposed to be an easy job. Why isn't this happening?
Yeah, and not only is it just for the $30 million worth of jewels, but it's also they're only getting paid total as a crew $500,000, which
right.
Like, makes sense if it's a real easy job, but still like kind of stupid. Like,
well, they also didn't know how much what they're actually getting. Remember, because it was in that locked box. Like the crew doing the thieving didn't know what was in that box.
I thought they knew it was $500,000.
No. All they knew was that they were getting the $500,000. That was it. Because Bruce Willis' character. Yeah, Bruce Willis' character got, which, yes, I agree. Like, $500,000 for that risk is not.
There's like 6 people, and like they're cutting in so many people here.
Yeah.
And then, just in general, I feel like it was a perfect Dog Day Afternoon, which also wasn't a great movie.
I actually like Dog Day Afternoon.
All right, well, for yourself.
Well, we'll agree to disagree that you're wrong. So, so that's a good one. I like that one. I went with Inside Man Meets a Lobotomy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been having a hard time lately finding a second movie. As you've caught probably in the last 2 or 3 movies we've done this, I'm having a hard time finding a second movie to put it in. Like Inside Man, because like Inside Man was actually a really good movie. And then picture Inside Man, a really good movie, but like with a lobotomy. And I think that describes.
That makes sense. You do know the podcast is called It's This Meets That.
Yeah, I know. I'll work on being better with it. It's tough, man. That's tough. That wouldn't be a pitch that someone would be like, you know what, I'm going to give you money for that. I'd be like, I know.
You're right. Yeah, I think that makes sense, though. Like, it's definitely somebody got lobotomized. It was definitely Kelvin Mao and or Jeff Jingle.
And definitely Bruce Willis. He went through this movie like he had a lobotomy.
He was kind of like weirdly smirking the whole time when he was delivering his lines.
Yeah, he's like, I know I'm getting paid by the end of the day. Probably like, I can't wait to leave Cincinnati. All right, so we'll move on. That's a Hollywood pitch. So let's get through some fast facts before we get into the teardown here.
When I was looking into fast facts for this, we mentioned it at the beginning, but most of the fast facts here are pulled from some bitter person who worked on the movie. And they're probably correct.
Yes.
They're like definitely very slanted trivia on the IMDb page, which anyone can add. So
open season on IMDb. So we'll take it with a grain of salt, but it's still fun to read. And there really is no other fast facts about this movie. It was filmed in Cincinnati. That's not really a fast fact because they say they're in Cincinnati.
Right. So I was thinking about it. While we're saying anyone can submit anything to trivia, someday when we have listeners, why don't, if we're doing a trailer ahead of time and you know what's coming up, why don't you go submit some trivia about the movie, and we'll probably read it.
Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Make it up.
We're on IMDb.
Fast facts. We should call it fast, no fact-checking facts.
Yes.
Who does that? No one does fact-checking anymore, right? Come on.
Yeah. We're a post-truth society, Rose.
Before we get too deep, yeah, so some of the, let's go through some of the awesome trivia we've read from this clearly enraged human being who probably worked in this movie or was somehow associated with it. This was kind of obvious. I think I even said this before, but Bruce Willis filmed all the scenes in one afternoon. I'd buy that. I mean, yeah, right?
Didn't change clothes. Definitely didn't.
You just wore a suit, and they're like, you need to stand in a room, deliver these 35 lines, which are absolutely fucking terrible, and then get out of a car at the end of the movie, and then that's it.
I was going to say, it's a short movie. It's 89 minutes, but he maybe has like 10 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, if you strung it all together, it's probably like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I do like this one. This is kind of fun. This can't be real, but who knows? Michael Chiklis felt his appearance didn't project his character's rage, and we'll get into a little more specifics about each characters, but he requested his eyebrows plucked to appear constantly angry. Did he appear angry to you?
Yes, for one. And two, I totally buy this because I mentioned it before. I wasn't a huge appreciator of Michael Chiklis until this movie. This is a defining role, and I think he nailed it. And you could tell that he really took his acting seriously. I could totally see plucking his eyebrows just to be more in character. I bet he went around set being like, "Call me Frank."
Yeah. That's method right there. That's taking it to the next level, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You get the Jared Leto's in a Shia LaBeoufs who get tattoos and get into their roles, and then you get the Chiklis who fucking plucks his eyebrows. That's fucking method.
You heard it here first. Shia LaBeouf is Michael Chiklis.
As Michael Chiklis?
I'd watch that.
Let's see, other fast facts here. Shot in only 12 days. That's whatever. Shoestring budget. And then I love how quickly this little fast fact just takes a nosedive to Terrible Town. It's like shot in only 12 days and a shoestring budget. Okay, because the producers took $1 million salaries and were later sued by the production company.
It makes perfect sense. I also would have sued anyone who worked on this.
I think I want to sue them for making me watch this. I guess they didn't make me watch this. I want to sue them for making this. How about that?
No, we made ourselves.
We did. Yeah, okay. I can't sue anyone then. And then the next 4 or 5 are literally just rage-induced trivia. It's actually definitely someone just was angry, right?
Yeah. And they're paragraphs long.
Yeah. I don't know if a fact is like more than I think two sentences, it's just kind of like, well, you're just, I don't know, explaining something. It's not really, right? Is that
So
how?
fast facts here, yeah.
Yeah. So mostly from then on, it's just pretty much them shitting on this actress Meadow Williams, who it sounds like was an investor and basically just bought herself a role in the movie.
Yeah, which I think is justifiable because she was awful. She's in a lot of stuff. That was the thing that surprised me. Like I don't recognize her anymore, which we'll probably get into. She looks like she's had a few rough years, but she's in like a million things.
Yeah.
She got 37 acting credits on IMDb, all over the place. She was on Married with Children. like
that's some distance there.
Yeah, a couple episodes of Murder, She Wrote. Like that's huge. In the yeah,
really?
Yeah. Beverly Hills Cop 3.
What?
The Nutsoids at Cannibal Cove.
Oh yeah, that one. That's a classic.
Yeah, 1989 classic.
Maybe we'll get it. Maybe we'll watch that one. We should just go on a Meadow Williams kind of run here and see.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a star, and it shows in this movie.
Yeah, because in the trivia here, it's just trivia takedown. I think at this point, it's not even really trivia. I think it's just takedowns. But actor Michael Chiklis worked on the clock to try to teach her acting 101, but no one was able to create a performance.
Yeah. Whoever wrote these hates Meadow Williams and loves Michael Chiklis.
Yes, that's all I can get from those fast facts. So
Michael Chiklis' mom, like,
right? She's on IMDb. She's fucking tearing it apart. All right, so let's tear this thing down.
So the first thing that we both noticed is MoviePass Films studio credits here at the beginning.
Aren't they bankrupt?
The most bankrupt. Like they've gone bankrupt like 3 times. Like they had to dissolve the parent company like recently. Like there's like I was a big believer in MoviePass at the time because it was way too good to be true.
Well, yeah, and good things that are too good to be true are not at some point.
Right. Exactly. And then another one where I think we commented on it last time. There were like 8 studios involved in the production of this somehow.
That's just that's the times we're in because you need to pull money from multiple places these days. You know, unless you're some big blockbuster, you're only everyone's got to shop around and get money from everyone. You know.
I guess so. I mean, yeah, we I don't think we said it, but this movie came out last year. It's not like it's this is the future we're living in.
Yes, we are in the future.
Yeah. And then speaking of being in the future, the guy saying reverse engineered, blah, blah. Like you walk into the scene, they're sitting in a bar. It's Michael Chiklis and the other guy there, Joe, his brother, that is really inconsequential. Come to find out. But he's like sitting there saying like all these words that don't really make full sentences.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. He's the brains of the operation.
All right. Yeah. Okay. He's important. Yeah. So let's touch on like kind of where all the players are, right? So the crew, which is made up of 5 people. So you got Chiklis' character, right? Who's the best safe cracker outside of New York City. And I was like, what about inside New York City? There's obviously better guys there, which I thought was funny.
The best safe cracker in Cincinnati.
Yeah. So you have Chiklis, his brother Joe, and then these other 3 jabronis. And then you've got the girlfriend of Joe, right? The brother. She's the bartender at the bar. Obviously bartender because that's where you work as a bar.
Meadow Williams.
And then in another space that cut back and forth, you got Bruce Willis in a room with 2 other rando guys and this other guy who apparently hired Bruce Willis to pull a crew together to rob this bank to get this thing out of the safety deposit box that only he knows what's inside of it, right?
Yeah, Texas battle.
Now, I don't know if you remember, and I forgot to write a note about this, but oh no, they get to it. But I thought this was before, but don't they?
Well, so here's what the timeline at the beginning is weird. So they come in on the bar, and you're meeting the crew, and then it's the credits, and the credits take half an hour.
That's what happened. Okay, that's right. I was like, wait, because I wrote down this 3-card Monty thing, which we should get into. All right, okay. Yeah. So they go into a bar. You're in a bar planning a heist, by the way. And it's funny how they have like all their paperwork like sprawled out in the bar. And it's like, this is still a public place. Like people can still come in here and have a beer.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Actually, in my first note after that, because it's right where it first shows Michael Chiklis, I kind of had forgotten what he looked like from all of those other TV shows and things. And my first note is literally, was that Michael Chiklis? Oh my God, he looks awful.
He just looks like kind of shorter, fatter Bruce Willis. They're just two old bald white guys.
Yeah, he's like really let himself go over the last few years.
There's definitely a moment when they're finally on screen together at the very end, and it's like it's the same person.
But yeah, go on. So yeah, they're sitting in the bar, no privacy.
No privacy. They're at the bar, and then the brother Joe, clearly the brains of the operation, is just spewing out basically heist buzzwords, right? Definitely uses the phrase reverse engineer, which I don't know what I don't know what they're reverse engineering.
Well, he was reverse engineering the exit points. So so what you're saying is you just planned out where you can leave from.
Just call it an escape route.
Yeah, call it an escape route.
Yeah. Reverse engineer? What the fuck are you reverse engineering?
There are a lot of real applications of that phrase. This was not one of them.
Fuck, man. Okay, so that was the bar. Do you have anything else about the bar?
No, not really. Then I just had the credit sequence, which I loved because it was a good 5 minutes out of the 89 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's this. I love how they made it seem like they were naming the people. Like you saw like Meadow Williams, but then it was like some guy robbing a bank. Like, like it did like a little brief like freeze frame slow motion thing. Like it made it seem like the name should be related to the person that they were showing, and it wasn't.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought at first too, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is cool. This is fine." The credit scene was probably the best part of this entire movie because I thought it was cool that they were basically showing you the heist. I was like, "Okay, it's kind of fun, right? They're showing you what's actually going to happen."
Oh, right? See, I didn't like that. So I was like, "Am I watching the movie before I watch the movie?"
Well, then I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be cool. Then it's gonna be a build up to like where our what happened and what's going on." I'm fine with that. But yeah, I mean, whatever. It was definitely way too long. Bruce Willis with like the deck of cards, and then that's when we get into Michael Chiklis at the end of the credits explaining what the 3-card Monty is, right?
Yes.
And I wrote, "Oh man, I wonder if this is gonna come back later." I roll, but it doesn't really. I mean, because like there was no coordinated plot between characters that would seem like they weren't together, right? Because that was the whole explanation he gave, was that he had markers or whatever, and he said that there was people who were like egging on the person the mark, right? But they're actually working with the dealer.
Right.
I don't know. It was pretty flimsy, pretty stupid. But.
Yeah. So, quick little aside on when Bruce Willis is delivering those lines, and it zooms in on his watch being like inside his wrist like that. Like,
I missed that.
Why? Like, first of all, like, why would you wear your watch that way? And then Thais was watching it with me, and apparently she was saying that women in Japan wear their watches on the inside of their wrist like that. It's like a trend there, but we are both like, why would you do that, Bruce Willis? Yeah. And then they never reference it again. Like, it seems like they make a deliberate case of him being like, oh, like, look at the inside of my wrist watch.
Maybe because they do fucking close-ups of the cracked watch, which we'll get to, like, every fucking time.
Maybe watches is the theme.
Was it an Omega? Maybe it was a product placement we missed or something. I don't know, but
yeah, I could see that.
It was a bad like reference tie into the whole 10 minutes time thing. Yeah, Bruce Willis just bad, like
real bad, real bad,
like really bad, like unbelievably bad. Like I think I wrote like I've said this before. I think a cardboard cutout would have been better.
Yeah, they could have just dubbed over the lines with someone who sounds like Bruce Willis, which I'm sure those are a dime a dozen in Hollywood.
Yeah, Bruce Willis.
Yeah, don't even have to pay Bruce Willis. Just like pay him for the licensing for the cardboard cutout.
For his likeness, and then that's it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not all his fault. Like, definitely he could have done better with delivery, but the lines that were written for everyone in this movie were like it's actually, I think, some of the worst writing I've ever heard in a movie. Like just all cliches from bank heists. Like people are like, oh, this person has never had a conversation with someone. Like, whoever wrote this movie has never had a conversation with a person
with a human being ever. Yeah,
because you wouldn't say any of these things. Like, I just immediately started like, oh, I heard one of your boys had an image problem. You're like, yeah, just a bunch of hardcore rotten luck. And you're like,
What?
what?
Who says that? No one. No one says that.
Yeah.
So the entire movie, like you said, Bruce Willis only like 10 minutes, pretty much all screen time. He's in this open room, this big room, the planning room, where the fuck it is, probably in the hotel he was staying at. There's equipment, whatever, kind of strewn about, and then there's a table with the bank, a little model version of the bank, and little like model cars and all this sort of stuff. Like, where do you get that stuff, and who's making that?
They get a guy. It's probably like the woman Ivory that
Right.
we'll find out about it until like 3/4 of the way through the movie.
We got a lot to talk about Ivory, but
It's probably her. It's probably like he seemingly has a whole team of people working for him that you never see.
yeah,
Really aren't important, but like, Bruce Willis has a guy for that. He's got a model bank guy.
he's also like the dumbest mastermind ever. And I think we'll get into that, but like he literally was just he was exposition. All of his dialogue was just exposition, and he was the guy who was asking all the questions. Like, dude, aren't you the mastermind? Aren't you the one who pulled the crew together? Are you the one who set this job up?
Yes.
You were literally just asking all the like. That's just bad writing. Like, what are you doing? This is
And
terrible.
then also the lighting in that opening scene. I don't know if it bothered you at all, but for me, there was no thought put into it. Like, lots of stuff was washed out in the beginning. Like, I'm glad they fixed it because I didn't call it out anywhere else in the movie. I feel like the rest of it was kind of fine. But at the very beginning, when the camera, first of all, never stops panning around, like the camera is moving constantly.
It's okay to like. I know they say like you want camera moving, but it's okay to like. It's like too much. Like holy shit, dude! Like, just you can stop moving the fucking camera for like a second. It was just like.
Yes, and I think because of that, like, they didn't have time to prep the lights well for the whole room, and so like there were so many times in the beginning there where like Bruce Willis, because he's bald and whatever, like he's basically washed out of the and I was like, why would you film it this way?
You only got him for a day, and if you go over an hour, that's another fucking $100,000 probably.
Yeah, yep. But then like it gets right into the job. I don't know if you have more in the planning scene there, but
the only thing I was going to call about the job part, the planning there. So Bruce Willis in this room with 3 other guys. One guy, Texas Battle, who is just kind of like this outside guy who hired Bruce Willis to get a crew to do this job, right? To rob something very specific from the bank. And there's 2 other guys in the room. There's like one guy who's just like, I guess a bodyguard, henchman, whatever. He says nothing. They do a bunch of like close-ups on him. It's like, who gives a shit? And then 3, there's that random guy who's like the tech guy, but there's one moment where the guy who Texas Battle comes in with a bag of money. Remember, he comes in, he's just like opens up the bag and like shows it to him, and like Bruce Willis, like sidekick tech guy, just looks inside the bag. He's like, "Yeah, it looks about right." Like, what? Like, it's literally like it's supposed to be. I think there's supposed to be $500,000 in the bag, and there's gonna be another $500,000 once they finish the job, right? Because I think that's how it works. Like, you just look inside the bag. Yeah, it looks about $500,000. Like,
what's about $500,000? I think they were trying to show like, wow, these guys are hardened criminals. Like, they definitely know what a bag full of cash looks like.
Oh my God! All right, so I think we got all the players in position now, and then let's get right. I guess it goes into the heist again, even though we saw it during the credits. But now the actual heist, right?
Right. So it starts with Griff. Griff walking into the bank in his disguise.
Which, by the way, looks like a $10 fucking like party store disguise with like the fucking hat and the mustache. It's like, dude, you look more suspicious.
The most suspicious disguise of all time. Like, he's wearing a hat and sunglasses and a very clearly fake mustache. He's like walking in, like tipping his hat to all the security people. Like, what? Like, why would you like? And the bank is not. Like, I've been to the TD Bank down the street where, shout out to TD Bank, where they have plenty of windows, and you're like, maybe it's justifiable to wear a hat and sunglasses inside because it's so bright. This is the darkest bank of all time. Like, it's underground bank that they're in. There's no windows at all, and he's wearing hat and sunglasses deep inside, and you're like, this not credible.
This makes no sense. Yeah, so that's right. So we should go through, like, so we have Chiklis' character is the safe cracker. His brother Joe is the brains, right? Griff is the he's the tech guy, right?
Right.
And then there's the other two jabronis who are like the muscle, basically.
Right.
Okay. Allegedly. But yeah, that was just kind of weird, right? So he goes in the bank, and then they kick off the whole heist, right? They kick things off. He's pulling out video cards or whatever for fucking cameras. And then Chiklis and his brother, they go down to crack the safe, which...
Yeah, they got the bag full. They're about to get the bag full of jewels. They're trying to in the safe. And they just like had this like little box with a random number generator on it.
Is that a real thing? Is that kind of...
No, definitely not. He's like sitting there and he's like holding this little box that's like hooked up to the safe somehow, and it's like just like flashing numbers and red on it. And he's like, "Hey, I gotta concentrate." So like, wait, concentrate on what? It's just, it seems like what it's supposed to be doing is like trying all the possible combinations.
If you're the best safe cracker outside of New York, clearly not inside of New York, outside of New York, like you should be so good where nothing should break your concentration what you're doing, which is, by the way, just staring at a fucking box till a number pops up and then trying it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing too. So like, I feel like the door was even unlocked kind of before he even tried it. Like it was, I don't know, nothing in that scene made sense. How he actually opened that safe made zero sense to me.
Yeah. I didn't get it at all. So they're doing that. They get the safe open. They find the safety deposit box. They pull out the thing that they're trying to find. Hey, we got it. They have some dialogue about like, this is it. We're good. We can fucking go,
retire on this big score. Like
big score of fucking $100,000 we're going to make because we have no idea what's inside this box. And then the alarm goes off, right? Alarm kicks off. Not part of the plan.
Right.
The two jabronis, we're going to call them jabronis, the two tough guys, they go outside. They just start, cops pull up. They just start fucking blasting away, right?
Yeah, it's like GTA 5 kind of style, like just shots fired everywhere, no aiming.
No aiming. I don't know how much ammo they actually had on them. It was like infinite ammo, basically. It was like basically being in a video game. And like that was like when the camera was like shaking so much, it was like making me sick. I'm like, dude, get a fucking tripod. It's okay. Like you don't need to move the camera like this, like to show action, because it was pretty lame action. That's probably why they didn't move the camera that much. But
and it was long. It was a long shootout, and like all of the officers are terrible shot. They don't get any shots in on the bad guys somehow. There's like 15 responding officers.
Yep.
And none of them get a single shot in on these guys who are exposed. Most of it, like most of the time, walking around with shotguns, blasting officers.
And they're literally hiding behind a car that like just send guy just flank them, like put someone on the other side.
Yes, there's a million officers around. Like I'm sitting there because it's probably like, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes worth of just like loud gunshots.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, what's the goal of this? Like, there's no way these two guys possibly escape. Like, are they supposed to be like the sacrifice distraction?
Yeah.
Because, like, how are they getting out of this? Like, they're so overwhelmed with firepower from the police, and yet they steal a police car then and murdered a bunch of officers. None of them take any hits at all, and they get away. They just like drove away.
Yeah, like that's it. That was the entire Cincinnati police force. Done. We're done. That's it. We're all out. We're all out of cops.
Yeah, and the last guy was like, whoa, oh no, like, guess I should have, like, these guys are dangerous, like, put out a all points bulletin.
I also love how, like, during this fucking gun battle, they zoom in on, like, guess, like, their sergeant or the fucking captain, the lead cop guy there, and he says the line, and I quote, "Headshots." Like, what is it? What? Oh, I know. Now I know why he says that. He says headshots, and then right after that, he says they got body armor. And I feel like that's like, thanks, Captain Obvious. Like the cops are just like, oh no, I didn't see that. Oh, okay, thanks for the heads up. Like,
yeah, there's just so many like little throwaways in that scene too. Of like, because then there was that woman who's like, hey, cops, like, hey, help back here. And he's like, I'm in the middle of something. Like, I'm in this crazy shootout. Can't you see that? And she's like, oh no, but like, we need some attention over here. And he's like, hold on, get back inside. And then he gets blown away immediately.
It was like so random. I was like, why is that lady like jumping out in the middle of a gunfight? Like, dumbass, get the fuck back inside. And he's basically like, get the fuck back inside.
No one would do that. Related to what we were talking about before we recorded, but this movie is rated R, and they're like, sure, there's violence, and like this scene is probably one of the more violent scenes, but also there's no blood. Like there's no like it's not at all, other than they say fuck like 10 times in the movie.
That's all you need. You need to say it twice, I think, to get an R rating.
I know, but like this could have easily, if you had changed the dialogue slightly, and it's not like they were really missing out on anything by changing it. Like they could have been, widely more accessible to could have bumped that 300 grand up to maybe like 400 grand.
Right? Oh man, so Jesus. So that's the heist, which by the way we see like played out 3 times. By the way, we see the full heist like in true time, and because let's get to the end of the heist, I guess. So
yeah,
big crazy gunfight outside. We go back inside, alarm's still going off. Chiklis and his brother are they go to their primary escape, which is upstairs for some reason. They're like, nope.
Yeah.
Let's go to the secondary. Okay. So they go to the secondary escape, which is basically out the back door, which why are there no cops? Like, anyways, yeah.
This is all the reverse engineering paying off.
Oh, right. Yes. We'll just go out the back door because all these cops are dumb and they're all gonna be up front, even though the cops weren't supposed to be there. Anyways.
Right.
They just walk out a back door into an alley. And then this is the moment where Chiklis' character gets hit over the back of the head by someone. Yep. Fucking shadow ninja comes out of fucking nowhere behind the trash can, hits him over the head, right? And then we wake up with Chiklis. He's on the ground. There's a gun in front of him, and his brother is shot dead in the trash.
This is the critical 10 minutes.
So that's it. And then he's like, now he's on. His brother is dead, and he's just like, whatever. I'll leave him in this trash, I guess, because I gotta go. That's fine. How long was he out for? Actually, we have an idea of how long he was out for.
I think that's the 10 minutes gone. Isn't that what the movie is named after? Isn't that like the part when he's out? Because that's the part that he doesn't remember.
So let me get this straight. So he's laying in the alley for 10 minutes.
Yep.
Everyone else has left.
Yep.
Still no cops came to the back alley to be like,
I think so. Yeah. I mean, like
it's a dead body and this guy is laying here. Like,
yeah.
These are the dumbest cops like of all time, by the way. Like,
it's Cincinnati also. Like these guys could have been like 3 alleys down the street. Who knows? Like, I feel like it's plausible that they're in an alley and nobody noticed at this point. After 10 minutes, like it's not that long. Like there's a lot of dead cops. I feel like they got to attend to.
That's true. That's fair. You gotta suspend belief, whatever that fucking line is. Yeah. Okay, I buy that. So he wakes up. His brother's dead. He goes over and he's like, "Oh man," convincingly sad that his brother is dead.
Right.
And when I say that, not at all. And then he just hops in the car that's right there and drives away. And now it's like, now he's got to pee. Oh, okay, so he's laid on the ground for 10 minutes. Now he's got to pee. That's right, because his watch cracks, and it's like 10, 12, 15 or whatever, right?
Right. Right, so then it goes back to Bruce Willis in his like little planning cave there with Texas Battle. And he's like, oh, God. He's like, I haven't heard from any of these guys. It's all over the news. This is going crazy. Like, what's going on? And then he's like, and then I loved this line. And Bruce Willis just goes, looking at this woman who apparently is like his whatever, number 2.
Bodyguard.
Yeah, you find out much later, Ivory. And he's like, none of this connects back to me. And you're like, okay. You're like, wait, how would it? Who are you? What the fuck is happening? What is this movie?
No one. Yeah, exactly. Like, what? There's no sense that you would right now that you're just a guy in a room.
Yeah. And like Texas Battle is there delivering his lines. He's arguably the worst delivery in the whole movie. Like everything that he says is like he's looking at the camera and being like, and then like, but you said you guys were good. Like,
yeah. And there's like these weird pauses of like, and then Bruce Willis is like, it was the caper that went sideways. Actually, that was better than how he said it. I think the way I just said it right now is I think actually better than the way he said it. I came in.
Yeah, because Texas Battle is like, oh, well, like, it must have been one of your guys that screwed us over, blah, blah, blah. And Bruce Willis goes, yeah, it was the caper that went sideways. And you're like, wait, you're like, who says that? Like, what a weird turn of phrase.
It's such like a, right, it did. It did go, right.
Who's this caper? Like, is this the third wish? Like, it was the caper that went sideways, see? Like,
this dialogue was like, it's like chewing on fucking raw kale. It's just like, this sucks. This is so bad. And the whole scene was like very long. And every time we went back to Bruce Willis's like cave there with Texas Battle,
Yeah.
that whole room and all their interactions was literally just exposition, and it was just them
Oh yeah.
telling you what the fuck was going on and why things were happening, but all of it just made no sense, and I didn't give a shit about anything they had to say.
Yeah, they realized it was important to explain the whole movie because you couldn't get it just by watching it. Like, oh wait, what if we just have Bruce Willis say what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Have him give his Bruce Willis smirk a couple times and move on.
Yeah.
So Chiklis is now kind of on the run. He's trying to figure out what the fuck happened for the last 10 minutes, right?
Yep, exactly. So he goes to the bar, his first stop, where they were planning everything.
Where they were planning, because that makes sense. Go to the very public place where you were planning this fucking heist in the very wide fucking open. Sure. Okay, let's go back there.
Yep, and he walks up to the bartender. He's like, "Give me a whiskey." Okay, this track. And he like just puts down like a $5 bill and then asks immediately for a refill. And the bartender, who deserves some kind of award for this, great performance.
Yeah.
You drinking to forget? He goes, "I'm drinking for my brother." And then the guy nods. And you're like,
what?
What just happened? Like, do these people know each other? Do they like? Or I guess it's just supposed to be like, oh, he's supposed to be a stereotypical bartender who, cares about your problems, and like, and at the same time, I'm thinking like, the bar is packed. There are a ton of guys in here. And you're like, what was the casting like for the scene? Like, let me get a bar full of shady-looking guys. Like,
I think they literally just picked strangers off of the Cincinnati streets and were like, get in here.
Yeah, like, did they pay them SAG rates for that? Like, what are they trying to do?
You're probably like, hey, you want a free beer? Yes. Okay, you'll be in a movie for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole bartender scene was really weird. It was like, again, way too long and very strange. Like, what bartender tells you, like, drinking to forget? It's like, what? I'm going to go home now and think about my life. No, like, who the fuck says that?
Bartenders in movies, apparently. And, like, the whole movie takes place over, like, I don't know, 7 hours. So, like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just a single day, right? It's all one day.
There's no way he processes his brother's death, like, appropriately. Like, I guess that's their one. Yeah, you're right. Like, they're trying to make him seem human or whatever. Michael Chiklis wildly outacting Bruce Willis the whole movie. Like,
big
I almost believe in this character.
Yeah, almost.
So then he goes upstairs, right? He goes upstairs to try and find Claire.
Yep, Claire, who is dead Joe, who's the brother for Chiklis, his character, Frank, who's dead in an alley now in fucking trash bags, right?
Yep.
Goes to find his girlfriend, Claire, who's the bartender at the same bar with the other dumbass bartender. And she's upstairs, right?
Right, exactly. And she's immediately not rattled by Joe's death. Like,
no.
He's very clearly a bad actor. And then also a bad actor. Like, come to find out, spoil these for later. Like, I guess if you think about her bad acting that way, you can make it make sense of being like, oh, of course she wasn't surprised that Joe died. Because
she's the one who killed him.
Yeah, so Michael Chiklis walks in and he's like, oh, Joe's dead. And she's like, what happened in there? You're like, what?
So weird. And definitely looking back, it's like, oh, maybe that was genius, or was it? I don't know.
Yeah. And then he's like going through, and he's like, yeah, we got the case, we left, we were walking down an alley. He's like, and then it was just 10 minutes gone. I was like, oh, they said it.
Here it is. Boom. Title of the movie. 10 minutes just gone.
And then her reply to that is the best. It was just, he's like, it was just a job. And she goes, that 10 minutes took away the life we had. I'm inferring a lot about the relationship that you had with Joe because it was not obvious from any other interactions you had.
I think if you go in thinking it's a comedy, maybe it's good. I don't know. No, I don't know. But yeah, that was weird. And then, he goes, he needs to track down the crew, right?
Yep.
So they get out, they grab stuff, they get out of there. She's like, you gotta come with me because you gotta come with me if you want to live. Like they're coming after us. Let's get out of here, right?
And during that scene, while they're trying to get away, she's like, oh, is that like Bruce Willis' name is Rex? I don't think we said that yet.
You didn't.
his character's name is Rex, and she's like, "Is that Rex's cleaner?" And I was like, "Wait a second." And then she goes, "Like, why would she be here?" And you're like, "If you know it's a cleaner, like in quotes,
Yeah.
well, why wouldn't you think that she would be here?"
Right. Also, like the chant, like her just spotting her, like all the way, like so far away, like in the alley, like was that Rex's cleaner? We gotta get out of here.
Yeah. You're like, why is Bruce Willis in this movie at all? Like, he's not.
Oh my god.
Actor.
Yeah. And then they just sneak out the back alley and they get in the car and then whatever, it's all stupid. So they get in the car and then they get away, right?
Yep. Well, then it cuts back to Bruce Willis.
Oh, right, okay.
Give him a reason to be in this movie, and then he just goes. I'm only interrupting you because I wrote this line down, and he just goes, "Every cop in this country is on this thing, right?" And the Texas Battle goes, "Yeah." Wait, every cop in this country is somehow involved now in this small Cincinnati bank robbery where 3 cops died, sure, but they're turning this into a huge thing, and it's not a huge thing.
No, it's not. I guess there is a mention about the feds, but then they wash that aside where Bruce Willis is just like, the feds are a bunch of idiots, right? It's like, hey, I guess they would get involved with sometimes bank robberies, but it seems a bit much.
Yeah, probably not. They didn't even get away. They got away with a safety deposit box. They didn't get away with. They couldn't have known what was in there either.
No, they didn't even take any money, did they?
Oh, they didn't take anything except the safety deposit box.
Yeah, fucking stupid. So then he's got to track down everyone in the crew, right? He's got to I got to figure out what happened fucking for the 10 minutes I was gone in the alley. Blah.
Yep.
So the first guy he finds is whatever the fuck his name is, not Dex, Baxter.
Yep.
The fucking bro, the guy who basically was Point Break light, basically. He was all surfery. Remember he's I don't remember, his dialogue was fucking stupid.
Yeah, the lines are written for, so right before that, when he's about to walk in there, you get Meadow Williams asking all of the questions what happened? Who is he? Where are we going? You're like, oh great, Michael Chiklis can just explain the movie to me again. Thank you for that.
Yep.
He's like, we're gonna go find the crew, and she's like, okay. He's like, let's start with Baxter. So they go with Baxter, and I love all of the I wrote down a bunch of them because they're ruthless. When his first line is we in some gnarly shit, Haas.
Yeah.
What? And then he's like, oh, what happened? What happened when the alarm went off? And he goes, I got the hell out of Dodge when the alarm chimed. And then we watched. This is the first time we watched the shootout again.
Right. That's right. We go back now because he explains what his perspective of the situation, right? Which is basically just shooting, and it's the same fucking scene we saw already, which is fucking boring.
Yep. And then he goes, and then the next line when he's like, well, what do we do now? And it's I don't know, the big kahuna might send out Ivory. And this was the first time that they mentioned her by name. And so I was just like, who's Ivory? What are they talking about?
That's right.
What does this sentence mean? The big kahuna might send out Ivory. And I was like, is Ivory bone? Like elephant tusks? Or what are we talking here? Is Ivory some kind of euphemism?
No, that's right. I forgot. They had made no mention of her name, right? They just showed her, and they're like, "Oh, that's his cleaner." They didn't mention her by name, and that was the second time you saw her. Maybe he slipped her name in the first time you see her with Bruce Willis.
I don't think so. I don't even think so. I think this was literally the first time they mentioned it.
Fucking terrible. So then they do this terrible dialogue. He looks at his phone, clearly getting a message from someone to say, "We're cleaning house," right?
Yep, exactly. Kill him.
The fucking shit goes down, and these two get in a gunfight. I have to say, this guy fucking Baxter, whatever the fuck his name is, right? Fucking bro. He lights his what a terrible way to start a gunfight. He lights his cigarette, right? And he's like, yeah, man, guess isn't he says the line or gnarly, whatever, or he says something. But then he flicks,
and then when he
flicks the cigarette at Michael Chiklis, and Chiklis ducks.
Yeah.
It's a fucking cigarette. Shoot, what?
Michael Chiklis has a gun trained on him the whole time.
The whole time. Dude, like, take the little fucking burn you might get from a flick cigarette, which, by the way, you're wearing clothes. What? It wasn't even like it hit him in the face. It was just like, and by the way, it was a well flicked cigarette, but it was just like, and he completely ducks, and then the guy gets a chance to pull out a gun. Like,
and then this gunfight takes an hour. They're like wasting so much ammo.
So much ammo. Like, how much ammo do they have on them? There's no way no.
I don't know. I just wrote down, this is just a long episode of whatever the last TV show Chiklis was in.
Oh yeah, I almost choked my beer. Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? And then the crazy, lots of gunfire, bah, 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 nothing really actually happens. There's actually nothing happening. They're just shooting bullets, basically wasting blanks, right?
Yep.
Fucking digital film.
And then you like dancing?
Oh, then the fucking I love a good. It's not good though, but it's bad. But I like good, bad, like pre-kill lines, like the '80s Schwarzenegger. Like he was probably the king of that stuff, right? But so Chiklis just drops down to the ground, and it's just like, you like the dance, and he shoots him in the shin. That's the line you come up with?
I hope not. Yeah.
Like that's the one that's your debilitating like line to say to a guy, like as you're like about to take him down. You like the dance.
Gets a little bit of information out of him, right? Like not much, and then he shoots him.
So hold on. So we got so they sit there having a conversation, right? And then they flash back to the bank. And did they mention something that the bank was flooded?
Oh yeah, they do. Well, so yes, you're right. So no, they flash back to Bruce Willis, and he's in the plane. And they're explaining, they're like, oh, well, he's like, well, why today? Like, why did we have to do this right now? Blah, blah, blah. And Texas Battle's like, well, because the bank was flooded and they were going to move the stuff from the safety deposit box. Like, it's the most convoluted reason for why it had to happen. And then I wrote it down because Bruce Willis goes to Texas Battle. He's like, well, you didn't tell me about this. Blah, blah, blah. He goes, your job was to tell the fucking truth. Wait, was it?
Also, like I'm no like expert here, but isn't like, I mean, since that, like, what was it flooded by? What?
Yeah, I don't know. Flooded by like that river that's on fire, right? That's a Cincinnati thing.
Is it?
Is that Cleveland? I think that might be Cleveland.
It's crazy. I mean, there's like the Ohio River, but like, did the Ohio River like was that ever a thing where it like flooded that bad, where like an entire building was flooded?
No.
Maybe it wasn't a river. Maybe it was like a water main busted, but still, like literally, because I remember looking when they were walking through and they had all the safety pockets. They were all like rusted. It was like really weird. It was like, this is kind of strange. Why is this like this?
Yeah.
It was like all the way up to the ceiling of just like kind of shitty. And I was like, that's so much water.
Yeah, a building that was totally flooded, but is also still fully in use. Like, there's no way it would be open. Like, they wouldn't be like, it was just a regular bank. There were like 30 customers in there. There were so many people.
Yeah. That threw me off. Definitely way more, like, again, they flash back to Bruce Willis and Texas Battle there, and it's just fucking exposition city. It's just like exposition. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, and then I love one thing that I wanted to note about Bruce Willis's delivery on all these lines. I don't know if it's something that bothered you, but he's like so whiny. Like the character is like, well, he never gave me a reason to doubt before, like talking to Mike, and you're like,
aren't you like a badass mastermind here? You're a whiny asshole just asking like so many questions for someone who's a mastermind. You're supposed to have all the answers. Like,
yeah, you're supposed to have this shit figured out. That's why we're doing this.
So we're still with Point Break light there, and Chiklis has got him. He's no longer able to dance because he took a shot to the shin, which, by the way, he'd probably recover fine, be able to dance again. That's another side point.
Yep. And
then he does the old 6-shooter to get information out of this guy, right? Be like, what the hell happened? And he re-explains. We have to watch this fucking bank heist again. And so this was great. So he does the old Russian roulette move, right? Where he has a 6-shooter on him, which, when did he have a 6-shooter on? Like, where did he get that from? Oh, the girl had it. She came out. That's right, because she came out, remember?
Yeah.
He was like, oh, you're supposed to stay in the car, which, by the way, she never stays in the car.
Yeah. Like, this is such a ruthless form of torture and also a awful way to get information.
Like, right? Like, so he puts one bullet in to the 6-shooter, does the old spin it, right? And he's like, give your information. What if the fucking first shot was like, just killed him?
Yeah, he's just dry firing on this guy, or assumingly that he's dry firing on him. And it's like, what if you're not?
Like, what if you just shoot him the first time? Like, guess I'm not gonna get any information. But he does end up getting information out of him that's important, right?
Yes, and like, well, and then so like Meta Williams has a couple of good lines here too. She's like, for whatever, I don't know how much she paid to be in this movie, if that's true, but she did not get her money's worth because she had like 4 lines in the whole movie, and I love when she goes. She just like matter of factly says like, "No, hardest part about working in a bar is figuring out who's drunk and who's just stupid." And we're like, "What?" And then Baxter's like, "Well, the guy's no sucker." And I'm like, "Who talks like this? Like, why are any of these people talking like this?"
Then he's doing the Russian roulette thing. He gets information out of him. Surprisingly, pulls off 5 fucking empty chamber shots on him, right? Like click, 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 and he's like, every reaction's so funny, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a moment where like Chiklis' character gets distracted or something, and Bax fucking Point Break Light makes a move for him, right? And they have like this little tug of war thing, and they're holding the gun, and then he shoots Baxter in the head, right? And right after it, that was close. Like that was a line.
Well, because he almost shoots what's her face there.
Yeah.
Would have solved all his problems.
Like, right? It would have solved all the problems. She should just like go away, go like to another room, so you're not. Anyways.
Yeah, poor Claire. Never stood a chance.
So we got one crew member down. Now it's on to the next guy, Marshall, the other guy who was like the muscle there, right?
Right, who's hanging out at a place called the Raw Deal.
The Raw Deal, and it's just a back alley casino in Cincinnati, apparently, right?
Yep, which is an awesome name for a back alley casino in Cincinnati.
Absolutely. If I ever go back to Cincinnati, which I've been there once, if I ever go back there, I'm going to look for a Raw Deal.
Yes, absolutely.
But this is where I like start to question like kind of directors' motives here, right? Because everything should have a reason for being, right?
Yeah.
Everything should have a reason, right?
Yep.
And we get to this casino and girls in the car. Chiklis walks up, does whatever, slips the guy some money, goes in, and then we get into the casino and they're doing shots of the casino. It's just a warehouse with like a couple craps tables, poker tables, whatever, and like the same 10 people run the bar down the street, right?
Yep.
But like there's all of a sudden like random like lens flare everywhere. I'm not sure if you caught this. Like the casino only in the casino scene was like this weird lens flare stuff that has never been in any other scene or any other shot in the movie. And all of a sudden like the casino is like, I didn't get why. It just felt really random and like kind of out of place. It's just like, is this to show it's?
I think he was going for. I'm assuming this is Brian A. Miller, probably his influence on here. I think he's trying to do a J.J. Abrams thing.
I mean, we all know J.J. loves his lens flare, but this was just bad. It was just weird. I don't know. Anyways, so.
Yeah, I was just saying, Frank comes in looking for Marshall, and Marshall's like first line to him is, "Frank, that was some fucked up shit today." What?
This guy's whole alibi was to go to the casino, and if he got picked up, he'd just be like, "Yeah, I was just at this Raw Deal, probably illegal casino all day."
Well, they paid off the cops. Remember, that was a exposition bit that we had him in at the beginning. It's like, when he's telling Claire, Chiklis is telling Claire, like, "Oh yeah, Marshall's got this place where he pays off the cops, and they get some big time high rollers in there, and nobody pays attention to this."
That's right. And then it's tensions building. Marshall's got his bros there. They got their hands on their guns.
Yep.
Chiklis has got his gun on Marshall. Marshall's kind of like this crazy, he's trying to be whatever. He's fucking terrible. He says this awesome line, "Why you fucking my sunny disposition, Frank?" Which is just like, that's a great line.
Yep.
And then shit hits the fan. Frank turns, fucking pops fucking 3-4 guys in a row.
Right. Well, wait. Right before that, we watched the footage again of the shootout at the bank.
I forgot. We had to go through Marshall's perspective of the whole thing, and then he goes through, and it's just like, okay, again, same stupid shitty shootout.
And then the shootout here happens at the Raw Deal.
Right, Raw Deal. Everyone's getting a fucking Raw Deal at this point, right?
Yes.
Chiklis turns, fucking boom, 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 blasts away the 3-4 bro henchmen behind him.
Yep.
And then takes a shot at Marshall, doesn't hit him. And then does this really random thing where I don't remember, like, so it's daytime and there's tons of daylight coming through into this warehouse.
Yep.
But then above the poker table is like this shitty, like, what do they call it? Light, or I'm trying to think of like with the tubes there. Jesus Christ, I'm blanking on it. But
Fluorescent?
thank you, fluorescent lights, right?
Yep.
And he just shoots the light.
Yep.
Why?
Yeah. No one knows.
It was just wasting of bullets, like just wasting of ammo for no reason at all. He just looks up and shoots the light. Like, is that like supposed to get glass on him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming in like whatever his like little SUV is outside that he has there, he's just got like buckets of ammunition,
like tons of it.
So no, yeah.
Then he escapes out of that, right? Hops in the car, and Meadow Williams is in the passenger. She's driving now, and she's just like, "What?" And he's like, "Drive, I gotta get out of here!" Like,
and somehow they fire 1,000,000 shots after the SUV. They don't even break a window. There's no marks on the SUV whatsoever. And then this is when I knew that the character Ivory existed. That's when Ivory shows up, and I go, "Oh!" I literally wrote in my notes, "Oh, that's Ivory."
That's when you connected Ivory to the person who's like this badass number 2 for Bruce Willis's character.
Yeah, the cleaner.
The cleaner, right?
Yes. Finally, this is the point where we're probably more than halfway through the movie now. And I'm like, oh, that's Ivory. Oh, okay. Why didn't they just say so? There's exposition for everything else. Why not telling us who Ivory was?
And Marshall's like he's like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. They're taking all the money. Him and 2 his jabronis. They're grabbing all the money off the tables there.
Yep.
She walks in, blasts the 2 guys next to him.
Yep.
I forget even what the fucking conversation was between her and that guy.
Yeah. Oh, he just goes, and then after she calls Bruce Willis, right?
That's right.
And then she just goes, "Oh, like, I guess your markers are getting called in," and then she shoots him.
Right. And then there's like the most ridiculous, like, he's like, Bruce Willis, like, "Oh, you got to sanitize the place." Like, why? Why?
And then like
what do you want? Like, why? Who cares? Like, it's a fucking why? Like, there's no reason at all. And it's just for the shot of her walking away in slow-mo as the building blows up and like fire comes out of the front of it.
Well, I think so. I think sanitize here is supposed to be like a euphemism for her cleaning, right? Like, I think it's like they're again. You're right. It doesn't make any sense, but I think they're trying to like go with the analogy there. And then like I love how they keep saying 5-0 to each other. They're like, oh well, like something about the 5-0. I'm like, this is like an awful Starsky and Hutch like parody that we're seeing. Like, this seems like something they would have done in like the early 2000s. Like bad writing. But this happened last year. And then, I had a note, too, about, like, why is Bruce Willis ordering all of the crew dead? Like, it seems like the messiest possible way to do this. Where he's like, there's probably, like, 15 dead people now that wouldn't have been before. There's two like, exploded and burned out buildings that they now have to explain. Like, this is the worst possible way to do all of this.
Yeah, for a job that's supposed to be so easy, and it's literally just being disrupted by a bartender, which we'll get to.
Yeah, for $500,000. A job worth $500,000.
$500,000. Let's keep that in mind, because no one knows what's actually in the case. No one knows what's in the box until later, right?
Yeah, but my point is, even if they did, it doesn't matter, because it's still not worth that much. It's not worth, like, there's 50 people that have died in this movie so far.
Was it $3 million or $30 million in the diamonds?
$30 million.
I mean, that's a pretty good payout.
It's a good score, but it's not like I'm thinking of like Ocean's 11. Think about like Ocean's 11, where they're like going after like hundreds of millions of dollars, like something where it's like it's like an actual big score, you know? Like,
there's a scale though, because I kind of disagree with you, because but there is a scale though, because it was supposed to be an easy job.
Yes, exactly.
So it's an easy job for $30 million. All right, take that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, the whole thing it should piss me off, because I'm like, they're giving up everything for so little reward. Yeah. We cut back to Bruce Willis again.
More expositions, more questions. Is the questions heighten? It's really weird.
Yeah, but then they get the mysterious phone call
on the really cool encrypted phone calling machine thing, I guess. I don't know what the fuck that thing was.
Like the sat phone that they have in the
like, why would they what? whatever, spoilers ahead here. Like we know Claire is the one who's behind. She's the one who's flipped the switch here, right? She was there at the very beginning. She heard the entire heist. She knows everything that's going on. I do have a comment about her reasoning for doing this, which is fucking hilarious. Is she using some microphone voice modulator thing? Because when she calls into Bruce Willis, she's like, and how does she have their number? Like, I don't know. Whatever. It's stupid.
Lots of questions, but I love the actual words of her conversation there when she's like, "Eat this place." She's like, "Bring me $500,000. Place TBD."
Yeah.
Wait, what?
I actually was like, I'm waiting for Bruce Willis to be like, does anyone know where TBD is? Is that like a bar or something? He was asking so many questions. It's fucking terrible.
And then Willis's response to that is liquidate everyone.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, and then this is the first time I wrote it down where I just go, it's definitely Claire that did this. So it took me halfway through the movie, and I think it's because she had so few lines, but I was like, oh, it's definitely Claire.
Yeah, I had a hunch at the very beginning because they gave her that weird moment in the very beginning when she was like, your money's no good here. Like that even alone, I was like, all right, she's involved in some fucking twisty shit here, but not to this point. I didn't this whole thing. All right, so we're down. So he's still tracking, Chiklis' character still tracking down the rest of the crew. We got Surfer Bro down, we got Marshall down, and then
Griff is left. He's looking for Griff.
Griff, right? Because Joe is dead. He's looking for Griff. So Griff was the tech guy, and Griff is like now in the viewer's mind should be the one that we all think, oh, it's Griff. That's right. Yeah, it must be him, right?
And so we went to the hospital there, and I love how the opening line here, there's like that random sex worker, and she's like, "He's good enough for you last night." You're like, what a all-time line that has nothing to do with anything.
Which, by the way, it wasn't a hospital. It was like a motel turned into like a hospital where like sketchy doctor does shit, right?
Sorry, I meant underground hospital.
Underground hospital, right? Where you go and and motel that, whatever you can go and do hourly, because hourly rates, right?
Yes.
But I also love like that, that sketchy like sex worker. She's talking to the guy behind the 2-inch bulletproof glass, which we'll get to in a moment, which is very important. So she says this, but did you also notice like her accent was that like a Southie Boston or New Yorker accent? It was like definitely trying to depict her as being way more trashy. No one in Ohio has that accent.
1,000% New York.
Right? It's like how no one in Cincinnati has that fucking accent.
Yeah, makes no sense, and I love it.
And if you're a sex worker, why would you move from probably a city where you can make more money, New York, to Cincinnati?
Also, great question. Unless, maybe you got some run-ins with the law, like you're trying to get out of Dodge.
I think I'd be into like a side character movie where we just follow.
I loved her. She was great. She was feisty. She was fun.
I thought it was great. So then Chiklis and Claire, they come into the place. They're trying to get to the doctor because they're trying to find where Griff is because he took a bullet, right? So they're thinking he came here. At least that's, I think, how it's set up, right?
Exactly. And then and the guy behind the counter there is like, he's like first he tries to throw them off and be like, oh no, this isn't what you think it is. And then he's like, no, we want to see the doctor. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, well, $500 for an operating room. And I was like, what? Like, are we sticking with this now? Like, what a weird conversation we're having. But I don't hate.
They should also set up that room so it's like this lobby and there's like the hotel, whatever you want to call them, the big guest services there guy, and then there's this random like homeless guy, I think, playing checkers, or was that Japanese
yeah. I think he was a security guy. I think he was supposed to be like muscle for the back office guy. Like I think he was, because there was a point where he almost did something.
Right, and Chiklis just beat him up, and I was like really easily, like
probably unnecessary. Definitely didn't need to beat these people up, but. And this was again when I wrote like, wow, Chiklis is really out acting Bruce Willis in this movie. It's like so much emotion into his role.
Yeah, he gave it his all. I think it was the plucked eyebrows.
Yeah.
They get upstairs again. They find the doctor. He's working on some random dude, pulling a bullet out. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They threaten him. Hey, where did Griff go?
Yep.
He's like finally takes him down to the room. Claire is watching the random guy in the room. Like I don't know why. Who gives a shit?
I'm pissed that she killed that guy.
What's that?
I'm pissed that she killed that guy. I was so mad. I was like, oh, why did Claire kill that guy? He didn't do anything.
There was like no reason at all, I think, to do that. So, but they get. I'm only getting leading up. So they go down to the room where Griff was supposed to be. They open up the room. He's not in there.
Yep.
The window is open, and I'm getting to this because like there was a specific line the doctor said. I just was like, the window is open. Clearly, Griff snuck out the window and went down the stairs.
Yep.
The back alley, the fire escape. Chiklis' character looks at the doctor, and the doctor says, "Gone with the wind." I think.
Yep, I remember that.
That was. I was like, who wrote that line? I was like,
it's somebody. Whoever wrote, like the people who wrote this movie were trying to write like a 20s, 30s like mystery thriller. Like I get what they were going for, I think, but they should have said it in 2019 like they did. like they picked the wrong. If this was set in the 20s or 30s, I think it would have been a way better movie because it would have been like, oh yeah, they would have been stupid like that.
Yeah, they would have done stupid shit like this. So
we were idiots 100 years ago. Sure.
Unbelievable. So we got Griff is on the run. Chiklis is after him with the lady Claire, who we know is now at this point. We don't know. The characters in the movie don't know she's a bad guy, but
right.
Or she's the one who took 10 minutes away from Chiklis.
Right. And then it's Ivory. We cut down to like we show Ivory on the screen there in the doctor's office. He's got videos, apparently also video feeds all over the hotel, which is weird. And then they're like watching Ivory like do all this shit in the lobby. Then you're like throwing the huge guy like because this is what you wanted to talk about. I'm assuming of the guy behind the bulletproof glass. So go to.
So he's behind the guy who runs the hotel. He's behind the bulletproof glass. She pulls out her gun and just fucking shoots the glass. He's like 2 inches thick, right? 3 bullets, right?
Yep.
The bum, the homeless guy, he already got his ass kicked by Chiklis, like no problem. Tries to go after her. She just quickly just beats the shit out of him. And then
she doesn't even beat the shit out of him. She starts just throwing him into the window. This is the saddest thing I've ever seen. Like,
I felt bad for the homeless guy. He's homeless. He's not a bodyguard. He's a homeless guy. I felt bad because like it was so goofy and so fucking weird and funny. And I'm like, wait, is the force of you throwing this homeless guy into the window gonna crack the window, but bullets wouldn't?
Yes, apparently.
Am I crazy? Is that crazy? Is that crazy thoughts? Like,
and that's where like I think they're trying to show that Ivory is very strong. I think they're trying to show that like I don't know. I'm assuming I'm being very generous to the filmmakers here and assuming that they're like trying to show us something with this scene, but no, realistically, I don't think they're trying to show us it.
No, I just think it was weird. So they escape, right? And then
while that's happening, and before they kill the doctor, before Ivory kills the doctor, Chiklis is like torturing him, right, with the laughing gas. And then he's just grabbing his dick the whole time, and you're like, "Wait, why is Michael Chiklis grabbing that guy's dick? Like that seems unnecessary."
That was really weird. I didn't quite get that one.
No, it's like you're like that's a weird way to torture someone. Like there are a million other ways you could be torturing this guy.
Like just hold him down, take one of his scalpels, and put it close to his eye.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of other things you can do.
There's no doubt, I would say 95% of the population would give up whatever information they have that you want if you put a knife to their eyeball.
Sure. And, like, the doctor seemed like a really reasonable, easygoing guy. Like he probably would have been convinced by almost like pull off his fingernails. You know, that's a classic move, right?
That's a tough one. I don't know if I could actually do that to someone because I fucking hate that stuff. But yeah, like definitely. But just hold a knife to his eye. That's it.
Twisting his nuts, like that's a weird thing to do. Unnecessary. And then, getting back to my point of earlier, when you're like, for a cleaner to be doing this, like it seems. I think at this point, I have like been keeping rough track of like she's killed probably like 25 people by now, and
yeah,
that seems like the worst way to clean up.
Yeah. Like you're actually creating more mess. Like you still have to get rid of these bodies if you're cleaning.
Yes, so she kills the doctor. He's like goes out and he's like in that hallucinating scene where they're like, whoa, the camera's going crazy.
I didn't fucking care. I was like, I don't care. Like, what? Just I hope he just falls out the window. Like, that's all I was hoping for. Like,
He must be on drugs. Like that's what drugs are. and then and then and then she kills him, and then she's calling up Bruce Willis, and she's like, "Oh, let me fill you in on exactly what this guy said privately to Frank and Claire." Like, how does she know that? She just murdered him. She definitely didn't ask many questions.
Nope.
She's like, yeah, Griff went to the train station. Looks like he's going to Montreal. And you're like, how could you possibly know that?
Oh, which, by the way, I love how he's going to Montreal, but everyone kept clarifying, he has to make a stop at Toronto first, though. Like, every single time, like, what? Sure, fine.
The first time I said that, I took it as being like, oh, well, it makes a stop in Toronto. He could be in either Toronto or Montreal. Like, maybe he just got off the train early. But then you're right. Then, like, later on, they point it out again, and you're like, but he's got to make a stop in Toronto. And you're like, wait, is he just stopping in Toronto and then going to Montreal? Like, what's happening? And then, in between, that's when you get the big reveal of, like, who's the Illuminati in this situation? Like the people who are controlling Texas Battles people. And you're like, who is this woman? Like, who's this woman that they do like a big reveal for her? What's her accent? Is that French? Like
yeah, I was like, is this like a Russian thing? It was like she sounded like fucking Elmer Fudd. It was like so weird because like he's on the phone with her,
yep.
Texas Battle. So it's like there's someone else higher, but it's like, why?
Right, they made it seem like it was a big reveal. Like they're like, "Oh, this is the big plot twist. Like this is what we've been waiting for the whole time. So this is going to be important later."
Like who cares?
It's never important later. Like Bruce Willis. Then is it this scene when Bruce Willis literally just like goes, "I bet I could kill. Like we could just get rid of the middleman and kills Texas Battle," or is that way later?
No, I think that's that moment. Yeah, no, it's definitely that moment. That's where he turns and like he's like, yeah, he just takes him out. I guess maybe Bruce Willis is not going to go directly to that one, but it doesn't matter. Like, what?
Yeah, I don't think he knows that woman exists. Like,
no clue. I have no clue. At this point, I was like, I have no clue what's going on. I think this, and I was like, I was so distracted by Bruce Willis's acting. I was like, is this his first time acting, like ever? Like,
yes.
The caper that went sideways. That was still better than the way he said it.
Yes.
All right, so we meet the crazy, weird accent Russian lady who's, I guess, the mastermind.
And also not the mastermind because she's never mentioned again.
Yeah, it's kind of a waste.
Nothing to do with the movie.
Now we go to the kind of like the big, I guess you call it the big scene here, right?
Yeah, Cincinnati Grand Central.
The big payoff climax action set piece taking place at the Cincinnati, Ohio Union's train station.
Yep. And then they first walk in and they're like, okay, we got to find Griff. Yep. And then I love Claire goes, I've got an idea. And then Frank just walks away.
So this had, let's take a quick step back here. So this train station sequence just blew my mind in terms of like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
So first line, they walk into the train station. Frank Chiklis' character literally says, I didn't know this many people still take the train.
Oh, right.
I was like, yeah, I mean, trains are still completely valid forms of transportation. Like, I'm pretty sure. Like,
yeah, lots of people take the train every day.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people all around Cincinnati, I'm sure.
all hundreds of people that live in Cincinnati probably take the train to go somewhere.
Yep, at least once a week. Who knows how often?
At least 105 people. I think the population's like 110 there. So,
you know, we didn't get an exposition to us earlier that I really would have appreciated. What day of the week is this? Like, is this a Friday heist? Like, are we? Thank God it's Friday, people. Like, who are these commuters at the train station? Are they people?
That's a good question because it is a pretty busy train station, so it's got to be rush hour. I would assume. So yeah, maybe like a Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
You don't plan a heist on a Friday. Everyone's expecting that.
Right. Good call. Yeah. You want to have weekend cash.
Right.
Yeah.
So he says that. So they get in there and they're kind of like, oh man, how do we find him? First of all, train stations generally, even big ones, aren't really that big. And if you already know he's going to Montreal, and I don't know if they glazed over this, so maybe I missed it. Maybe I took a nap, but
I think you fell asleep because they did do this where they were like, all right, which train goes to Montreal? And they were like looking at the train thing, and they were like, oh, that one only goes to Toronto. And they were like, well, didn't you say they have a stop in Toronto? And she's like, yeah, but we're looking for an end. Like they talked this out. They're like, oh, but we're looking for an end of the line is Montreal. And then he goes like, oh, track 4. That must be over there. So yes.
And then so now I think you were alluding to it.
Then Claire goes, I've got an idea.
And I don't get what this idea is. Maybe you do.
Well, yeah, so I get the idea, and I'm glad that she did it. It was kind of smart, I guess. But Frank just walks away, which I thought was hysterical. Like she goes, I get the idea. She walks over to like the conductor announcer area there, and Frank just like walks upstairs. You're like, okay, bye, Michael Chiklis. And then her idea, and this is what I'm thinking she was trying to do, is like get him to look up. Because like get Griff to look up, because she's like, oh, like my child is lost. His name is Griff, and he like is wearing these clothes, and so like I think she was trying to like describe him and get him to like acknowledge the voice and the speakers and like know that they're there, which I don't think is a great plan because you immediately lose all element of surprise, right? Like, oh, let's announce there's someone here looking for you, but it could have worked. And that he could have looked up, but he also didn't. He looked up when he saw Michael Chiklis.
Yeah.
He's like, there's Michael Chiklis. Shit.
But he's wearing an MTA costume, and he's talking to people who work at the train station.
Uniforms for us.
What's that?
Uniforms for us.
Yeah, so he's wearing a uniform. What did I say? So he's wearing outfit.
It's in costume.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's in costume. They're not. They work there. They're in uniforms. He's in costume,
right.
Pretending to be someone who works there. But how did no one not who are you?
Yeah, he's like directing traffic. He's like, oh yeah, like go this way, everyone. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure, that guy.
That was the other thing too. Like it was busy time, but like it wasn't like it was that there was that many people where he needed to direct traffic. Yeah. Also, what was his goal? Like, was he going to get on? He was getting on a train. Why wouldn't he just go get on a train and leave?
Yeah, I mean, yes, a million factors. I mean, like Frank said, he's got to wait till the last minute to get on that train because for some reason that makes you less suspicious.
I guess. Or he doesn't want to be on there, and then Frank finds he hops on, and it's like, oh, they can find him, but.
Yeah, but also kind of ridiculous. I feel like it makes you way more suspicious to be the guy who's the last guy on the train, right?
Yeah. Like, dude, but you work here.
Right.
Where are you going, by the way? You work here.
So then Ivory finds Frank upstairs when right after Frank makes eye contact with Griff, that's when Ivory shows up.
That's right.
And she like brings him into the bathroom, weirdly, and like, why isn't she just killing him? Like she's killed so many people.
Everyone.
Yeah. She's killed everyone in this movie so far. Why wouldn't she kill Frank?
That was my first thought, too. She also brings him into the ladies' room.
Yeah.
But, yeah, why not just shoot him? Just bring him in there, shoot him in the bathroom, go find the Griff guy, because clearly she's supposed to be that good as a cleaner. Go find a Griff guy, shoot him, take the bag, and go about your day.
Yeah. She already knew that she was looking for Griff. She already knew all of these things.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then she calls Bruce Willis on the phone, and she's like blaming her burning all of these other places, like exploding all of these other buildings. She's blaming it on Frank. Remember, she's like, "Oh, like you made me do this. Like, why did you make me kill all those people?" You're like, "Wait, no, he's just a guy trying to solve the crime of who killed his brother. Yeah. Like, get off him." Yeah,
he's just the best safecracker outside of New York City, just trying to understand what happened for those 10 minutes he was sleeping in an alley.
Exactly, and that's when you get the Bruce Willis. I doubt the feds are really that smart.
Yeah.
why are we doing any of this? Like, why didn't the jewel thief? Because they explain that whole story of like, oh, this jewel thief robbed these $30 million worth of jewels, and then fled the country to a non-extradition place, and then did whatever. Like, why didn't the jewel thief just have someone else that's in the country go get their shit out of the safe deposit box? Like, mail them the key. Like, they're like, this didn't seem like the kind of bank where they're like, oh, I need to make sure that you're the guy that you are. Like, just go walk in, like, whip out your key, get your shit out of the safe deposit box, go home. Like, you could have avoided the whole situation if you were trying to coordinate this.
Also, so first of all, yeah, why didn't Ivory just shoot him? Second of all, like once he like talks his way out of that situation, why doesn't she help him find this guy Griff? Like, why isn't there more like
partnership? Yeah, that too. That's a great call.
Like, if okay, you need to find this Griff guy. Well, why isn't she supposed to be so badass and awesome? Why not the both of you go and find him? You know.
And then Bruce Willis is like got another couple good 20s 30s lines where he's like, "You're a tough Mick, Frank." I'm like, I don't think you're allowed to say that anymore.
I don't think that's. Oh my God! So then Frank goes and tries to track down Griff. He spots him. They spot each other. They have the eye moment. They walk out conveniently to a construction area, so no one's around. No one's doing any construction on this Wednesday, Thursday, whatever fucking afternoon it is, which is
ridiculous, right?
So they're in this construction tunnel that's, I guess, in the train station. It's probably a busway or something like that.
And then they all start shooting immediately, right?
Yeah, like just like gunfire in like this tunnel area that's part of the Union Station train station area.
Yep.
And I know cops do show up at some point, but man, it's a slow response because this is a long gunfight.
Yeah, I wrote down. I said, how do the cops get to the bank in 5 seconds, but then take 1,000 years to get to a giant shootout at the train station with way more people? Like, this is a way more public, way more dire situation than the bank. We find out 5 minutes from now that, Claire tipped them off of the bank, but still, she didn't tip them off until after the guys were inside.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying somehow they were there so quick and you know what? Maybe this is a commentary on America's police. Like, protecting the big money, you're like, well, yeah, well, the bank, we're going to protect the bank, but the train
station, fuck it, right?
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, there's only like 95% of the population of Cincinnati is there. All 106 people are there, It's like, whatever.
Yeah. And then, then they start confronting each other, right?
Yep. Having a conversation, like, basically, what's his face? Griff is trying to tell Frank, like, hey, and he literally says this line. They're like talking, like confronting each other, and Griff says this line. He's like, I didn't do anything, Frank. And I love Chiklis' character. He just goes like this. He's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's like no response to it. Like, oh yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, and then Chiklis is like, we were a crew, man. And you're like, you killed all of those guys.
Yeah, like straight up murdered them. What?
Then as soon as Griff gets shot by Ivory, Chiklis starts calling him Griffy, and I'm like, wait a second.
What?
Like, wait, we're family. Like,
yeah. I also love how like they're standing there and like they make up, and then like there's this really awkward moment where they're like, this is totally like a weird blocking thing, but like, did you notice how like they were standing like far apart? And they're making up, right? And then Chiklis does this weird thing where he just like steps like really close to him, and they're just standing there and it's like waiting to be shot. All right, it's gonna happen, and then
move to your cue. You see the cue? Like, go move to.
He just takes like one big step like across the entire screen, like right up to Griff's face, and then they do another tight beat like between them. They're just standing there like no dialogue, nothing for like 2 seconds. What's happening?
Glad you said that because I thought exactly the same thing when I saw it, and I didn't write it down, and I completely forgot about it until you just said it again. But I was like, wait a second, like what? Why did they do that?
It was so awkward.
Yeah.
So then Griff gets shot by obviously Ivory, right?
And then he's really belaboring opening this backpack. Like, I feel like that took an unnecessary 2 minutes of her just being like fumbling with the zipper.
Just grab the bag, shoot Frank, and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, there are a million opportunities here.
Like, just pop him in the head and move on with your life, right? So she's flipping through the bag. I also I couldn't stand how she was holding the gun.
Yep.
Like, the entire time she did like this weird, like, it was like, there's like, they did a close up and was like awkwardly, like kind of angled, like at a 75-degree angle, and was like sloppily, like to her side. It's like, is that how you hold a gun? I don't know. I think I've watched much better films that had a bigger budget who had like the training for people to actually hold guns properly. I was like, I don't think that's how you would hold a gun.
No, definitely.
Like, I don't know, maybe down. I don't know. It felt like you know what? It felt like a gangster thing. Like that whole like you keep it low, like, hey, yeah, see here, give me what's in the bag.
Yeah, it's not how you shoot guns.
No.
Right now.
She did have an amazing shot though, because remember she did the no look shot of the guy at the motel.
Yeah. That's fair. And then they give the big reveal of Claire.
Yep, because Claire comes in, she shoots Ivory.
Yep. Then I wrote call it.
Let's I just started. I was like, wow. So let's put this all in context now. So we've got Ivory, the badass cleaner hit woman.
Right.
She gets shot by a bartender.
Yep, a bad bartender.
Bad bartender, a terrible bartender, and terrible girlfriend,
yep.
Who basically just listened on the heist and was like, I'm gonna do this.
Yep. And has had 4 lines in the whole movie.
Yep. She shoots the badass. So this is like, this kind of reminded me of like that moment I fucking love the movie, but do you remember Collateral? Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx?
Yep.
Like the end of that was like so like, you literally have like a trained fucking hitman who's been like executing people left and right like it's his job, but like perfectly.
Yep. And
then there's like this stupid shootout at the end, and Jamie Foxx happens to clip him.
The most contrived, like.
Oh, it's so like, how do we end this movie? Let's just have fucking flashing lights and he gets a fucking lucky shot off. It's like, no.
Yep. Yep. And then Chiklis goes, "You greedy bitch."
Oh, I wrote that. Oh man, you greedy bit. Like,
wait a second. I was like, she's still only gonna get $500,000. So little money, like $500,000 would pay off like a few of my debts, like a good down payment on a house. Like $500,000 is no money.
But she knew it was in the. Well, remember. So this is the moment where now we have. It was. I wrote down. I was like this. So Claire comes out, shoots Ivy. Ivy's down, right? And then Frank looks at her and he's like, "This quote. I fucking love this line. You got to be shitting me." And I was like, "Yep." That's pretty much what's going through my head too. They just run into like this massive exposition. It was like a moment, like it's like the end of a Scooby-Doo episode where they just fucking pull off the mask, like I would have gotten away with him for you fucking old bald white guys.
Yep.
And she just tells the entire thing.
Yes, which I loved. And then she's
shoot him, grab the bag and move on.
So much time hung up on. It was my favorite part when she's like, when it shows her shooting Joe, the brother, in the alley there, and she's like, "Do you know how to get into this? Like, how do we get into the lockbox?" Blah blah blah. And you're like, he's like, "No, like I don't have a key. Like, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And, like, they make it into a huge deal. There's like 2 or 3 minutes of the movie dedicated to like, how do we get into the lockbox?
Yeah.
When they show her bringing it back to the bar and getting into it in less than 2 seconds with a bobby pin.
Yep.
I like taught myself how to pick locks a couple years ago. Humble brag. Because I was like, this could be a useful skill. It takes way more than 2 seconds, even if you know exactly what you're doing. And if you have like lock picks, like you're not just using a bobby pin. If you have like actual tools designed for the job, it still takes probably like 10 seconds at most. Like there's no way after she made such a huge deal of this that she just gets into this box. And then like, and then she's taking 1,000 years to shoot people. She's explaining the whole story. She's saying everything that's going on.
Like,
why?
Shoot him.
Why? Shoot him.
Shoot him.
And then they reveal the next big reveal.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, wait, hold on. Keep that thought. Wait. So did she? So Griff had, but he had the diamonds, though, right?
No,
he didn't.
No, they weren't in the bag. They were in her pocket. She like transferred them.
That's right. She transferred into like the eyeglass case thing.
Yeah.
Why the fuck wouldn't she just get the fuck out of town?
Yes.
But in the very beginning, just been like, hey, you know what? I got an idea. I'm gonna get out of town. Why don't you meet me in fucking Toronto?
Yeah. Montreal, maybe.
Montreal. But you gotta stop in Toronto before you get to Montreal. Everyone knows that. From Cincinnati. like why stick around and why be a part of all this? But I also love, yeah, you're right. So they spend like, so she goes through this whole thing. We do a flashback back to the alley thing, her jumping out behind the fucking thing, big reveal. She's been the fucking one the entire time. Gets the drop on fucking Frank and Joe, the two fucking big thieves, right?
Professional criminals.
Professional criminals. They got the drop on them. But then there was a moment where Joe, like, obviously recognized her because even her stupid costume was like, yeah, I know it's you. You dumbass. I know it's you.
Yep.
But yeah, they spend 2 to 3 minutes of that interaction was the 10 minutes that Chiklis lost.
Yeah.
Anyways, so that she's going through, so she's explaining everything, the entire thing, Scooby-Doo fucking ending, right, to Frank. And he's just like, oh, what? I don't know if you caught this, and maybe set me right, but so she's going through the whole thing and they re-show the fucking bank robbery, right, kind of quickly, but they show it from her perspective this time.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's like she's got the worst hidden costume. It's worse than the guy with the fucking hat and the fake mustache. She's like,
yeah,
she's like Unabomber, female Unabomber, basically, right? It's like, wow, you look fucking suspicious.
She's wearing sunglasses and a hoodie, and she's like, police, come to the bank. There's a robbery in progress. They just shot my boss. And you're like, okay.
And then she pulls a fire alarm.
Yeah.
Where was that fire alarm placed?
I mean, the way that they made it seem like in the movie was before those guys even got into the bank.
Well, no, I mean like actual physical placement of the fire alarm. It felt to me like she was literally outside and the fire alarm was built into a rock wall that will like line the outside of the bank.
It was on an exterior wall for sure. Yeah.
Like it was like on the sidewalk. Like if you were walking on the sidewalk, there was a fire alarm.
Yes.
Is that a thing?
No.
Okay.
I've never been. Well, I've only been to Cincinnati once. I didn't pay that much attention. Maybe they do that there.
I don't think so. I was there, but would the fire alarm for a bank be?
No, maybe it's just a generic fire alarm. Maybe you just like it's an emergency like it's one of those blue phone things where you just
because like that was the thing that kicked off the alarm inside.
Oh, I know. But I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here.
Don't. The whole point of this is that we don't give anyone any benefits of any doubts because they don't deserve them.
Yeah. So then we're getting to the next big reveal, right?
I forget what the last big reveal is. Oh, yeah. So the only other thing I had to comment, so she's still going through second position, blah, 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 blah. You greedy bitch thing was pretty funny. Her whole reasoning for doing this, by the way, was, and I quote directly from the film, I wasted 10 years of my life in that bar.
Yeah. That's not that much time. Yeah, she made it seem like I need a big score to return. First of all, she's making it seem like she's 30. And I was like, come on, lady.
No.
You were born in the 60s. Yeah. I know it. You know it. We all know it.
We all know it.
You're not playing a 30-year-old bartender who's like, I've wasted 10 years of my life. Because, yeah, she's like, I deserve to retire. And you're like, I think you're trying to play a young person, but yeah, I guess you do deserve to retire at this point in your actual life. None of this adds up. None of this makes any sense. You're totally right.
Yeah.
The timing, it was just a weird frame of, oh, I deserve to retire. And you're like,
that's your drive?
Yeah, okay. But
why not just let your boyfriend rob the bank and get his cut of $100,000
And so, yeah, and then you keep saying, well, we know what the jewels are inside. The rest of these people, they never know that those are worth $30 million. So she's still angling for the $500,000. She's still that's her dream. She's like, oh, Bruce Willis is going to show up, give me a suitcase full of $500,000, and I'm going to get away with this.
Well, but she gets open the case though. So at that point, when she takes the case from Joe, shoots him in the alley, and then gets home and transfers him out, there's diamonds. You have to know that's more than $500,000, right?
She does, dude, and because she's still offering that as the deal. She's trying to make a deal with Bruce Willis still. Remember, she that's when she calls him on the secret phone with the voice modulator. And she's like, $500,000, and I'll give you the case. Just
right, yeah.
She knows what she's getting. She knows she's getting $500,000. This is the whole movie is about $500,000.
That's right. You're right, and she has no idea that the diamonds she just rolled out. Which, by the way, $30 million.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be like, oh, let me check the value of these diamonds before I go?
Maybe, but like you gotta fence those anyway. Like selling jewels, just stealing jewels and selling jewels is like a really hard gig to get into as far as crime. Like sell drugs or something that's way easier.
Way easier, but yeah, once you get into diamonds, yeah, I guess that's true, right? Because like Bruce Willis says at the end,
Yeah,
he's a fence, yeah, because you always need to find a fence, and it's a lot of work. Yeah, that's fair, that's fine. But $500,000, like. Yeah. I don't know. I just the reasoning behind like her doing all this is like I wasted 10 years of my life in that bar. She was boyfriend of the guy who was going to make $100,000. Like,
yep. Everything that she's done, she's killed her boyfriend. She's killed so many people. About to kill Bruce Willis, and she's like, all of this is worth 5 times what I was thinking I was going to get anyway.
Yep.
Wow.
Life. Well, this is why dumb people make bad decisions, right?
Yes, you're right. So then, like, the next big reveal for me was when Ivory gets up.
I almost forgot about that, right?
He gets up, and you're like, wait, the big reveal here is how do you possibly have effective body armor under her shirt? She's wearing, like, a skin-tight outfit. She's doing, like a sexy femme fatale kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's her whole look. Yep. And it's like very clearly a skin-tight shirt. How does she have any kind of armor plating underneath that would take?
She lives. That's right. She lives, doesn't she?
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm saying. Like that's like the most important part of the end here.
That's right. Because she leans up and is like that's right. Because like randomly Claire just takes 2 shots and she's down. I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? And it's Ivory from the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now Claire's dead. Ivory gets up like it ain't no thing.
Yep.
And then Michael Chiklis talking to Bruce Willis is like, so much for honor among thieves. You're like, wait.
What?
What?
It was like a completely cliche line that makes no sense, has no bearing on anything. I know they said it in the beginning of the movie or something like that. Like it was referenced very early on, but it's like, this is stupid.
It's so stupid. And then they just make an exchange. Like, like Michael Chiklis is like, yeah, have those diamonds or whatever, and Bruce Willis is like, all right, well, here's $500,000. Like, smell you later. He goes, and then Bruce Willis just goes, time to get back on the clock.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait,
what?
We're just gonna ignore everything that happened here. You killed the whole crew. Everything can happen all day long. Everything's fine now. I got my $500,000 and like time to get back on the next job for Bruce Willis. Is that really?
Sequels, man. 15 minutes gone. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah. And then the cops show up.
Finally, CPD's finest fucking show up.
And Michael Chiklis is still running around being a creep, like the only person there, and they don't notice anything. Like they're just like
person. Just like kind of roaming around awkwardly in his construction site, like, "Hey, sir, what are you doing here?" Like
that guy wasn't responsible for all the gunshots and dead bodies.
Yeah.
Like what? And then the last thing that I wrote, the last note that I had was the song during the credits. Awful song. And I was couldn't find it online anywhere. But I finally found somebody said if the artist is named Burns and the song is called Unstoppable, and it just got never released. It was like in this movie and then never released otherwise.
That's pretty awesome.
Awesome, but because it's such a bad song, I'm like, well, it makes sense. I wouldn't release this either.
Unless someone wanted to pay me like $3,000 for it to be in a movie. I'd be like, yeah, sure. There you go.
Exactly.
Take it. So I don't think I can recommend this movie.
I would. I think it was fun. It was good. If you're looking to go down to the dark depths of Bruce Willis canon, like watch the movie because it's terrible. Get to know the producers who also seem like terrible people.
Yeah, we probably don't need to get into digging them, but like, yeah, I would do. That's fun. That's some fun internet run. The producers of this are pretty interesting characters. Like they definitely,
watch it.
I get a theory that like movies like this get made for like drug dealers and people and like crime lords to like have a way to launder money.
Yes, definitely.
Right. That might be a whole nother episode we'll discuss, but like, whew, man, how? So yeah,
that's the end.